What's up, guys? Today I'm here to show you a real fun and totally forgotten diss record. From 1989, classic hip-hop era, the time Candyman dissed EPMD, and also Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd. Yeah, it happened. Here it is, Candyman, Hip Hop Addict, 1989 on Quality King Records. Yes, I'm talking about the same Candyman, the Knockin' the Boots Candyman, who had the big hit in 1990. The early 1990s there was really the time when hip-hop pop was becoming a thing. You know, 1990, MC Hammer was jumping off, Vanilla Ice was jumping off, Candyman himself was becoming a huge mainstream hit with Knockin' the Boots and even some of his follow-ups to a lesser extent. But before all that, before he signed to Epic Records and did all that big stuff, he was an independent artist. And he was on, briefly, King's Quality Records. Now, this is not actually even his first record. He had one before that where he was down with the Rhyme Syndicate. You know, I think like Ice-T co-wrote it. It was produced by Africa Islam. And, you know, that's okay. You know, it's maybe not as good as you would hope when you hear produced by Africa Islam, but it is pretty cool. But after that, he and his crew were associated with King's Quality Records. I say his crew because also one of the guys he was down with, TNT, was also on King's Quality Records. He put out a couple singles, and TNT is actually featured on this record too. And they're also, Candyman was involved in some of the writing and production on some of that stuff. He's actually featured on one of TNT's songs, and both artists are produced by Candyman's chief #1 stalwart soul producer, you know, right after the Africa Islam, you know, kind of one-off, Johnny J, who was his man for a long time until he eventually jumped ship and started producing for Tupac, and then Candyman was kind of left on his own to find other producers, and that was kind of the end of his career. Because Johnny J is actually a really talented, sort of a producer's producer, you know. And this record, too, is produced by Johnny J. In fact, he is one of the guys here on the cover standing next to Candyman. Candyman in the center, Johnny J here on the left. I'm not quite sure who that is on the right. Maybe it's TNT, maybe it's T-Fly. Definitely one of the guys down with Candyman. The Candyland Band, as he called them briefly when he was on Epic. It could also be DJ Scratch, who's the DJ on this record. So this title track is Hip Hop Addict, but this is not actually the diss song, but let's deal with that first because it is the A-side, it is the main track of the single. Hip Hop Addict is actually a pretty solid track all around. Candyman comes off as good as he's ever going to come off as an MC. He's pretty tight again. You know, he's no Big Daddy Kane, Wrath of Kane, blowing your mind kind of rap. But, you know, for a mainstream rapper, he actually kind of handles his. He's, you know, he's pretty nice. He's definitely more than passable for the record. And the production is really solid. There's actually a couple different versions here. And the main version is the least interesting, although it's good, it's solid. But, well, actually, it's a little hard to say. You look here at the back, and it's the same on the record label itself. They show 3 versions of Hip Hop Addict, but if you actually play the wax, there's 4 versions. So it's hard to tell exactly what is what. Certainly, the first 2, Airplay and Underground, are pretty straightforward. You got the main version of the song, the clean version, and then the Underground is the same thing unedited. Candyman does actually curse a fair amount on this record. And also there's some cursing in the samples and stuff. It's a fun record. There's a lot of, again, Johnny J really takes off. I'm going to play some clips, so I won't explain the music too much. But then you got 2 other versions, but they only mention one, Hollywood Live. But if you play it, there's actually a remix, which is dope. It's much better. It's got some kind of really cool sort of, much more like kind of classic, funkier East Coast breaks to it. That's definitely my preferred version. And then there's a stripped down, shorter version, which I think is maybe perhaps the Hollywood Live one, where it's also perhaps a little bit better than the original. Again, it's more raw, it's more stripped down, but it's also a little flat. So for me, it's all about that kind of rare in the middle remix, which may or may not be the underground mix. Okay, skipping the clean version altogether.
You don't know me, fool.
You better raise up off of it.
Damn, that rap was great.
Don't you fuck with me.
Ooh, that's okay, Mom Candyman. What the hell you waiting on? Ain't that a bitch? I can kick my rhyming whenever I'm in the mood to just Caruso. You know like I know that my rhymes flow. So, get in the flow. Listen to the tempo. Simple material. It's unappreciable. They play it on the radio. I say that ain't the way to go. I'm in the mood to get stupid. In effect, we can't do that yet. Wanna bet? I start writing. I get lighting in the background. You wanna fight? Well, then I won't back down. Steadily punching like Nestle's crunching. I'm like Goliath. You are just a munchkin. Standing on the tip top, making such a flip flop. Call me hyped if you like. I'm addicted to hip hop music. Sorta like my remedy. You take these sweat while I play Public Enemy.
Okay with it.
I'm a hip hop addict.
With it. Okay with it.
Once again, my friend, I'm here to send positive messages to you and your relatives. That's the way it is, unless you get.
Yeah, this needle's a little bit shot, so it skipped there. I forgot this record player has a shoddy needle. But that's the original version. Now I'm going to play you the superior, I think, second mix.
Harry, prove it up with that missile. You're trying.
You don't know me, fool.
You better raise up off of it.
Damn, that was great.
You with me.
Candyman starts rhyming whenever I'm in the mood to do so. I pioneer like Robinson Crusoe. You know, like I know that my rhymes flow. So get in the flow, listen to the tempo. Simple material that's unappreciable. They play it on the radio. I bet that ain't the way I go. I'm in the mood to get stupid. In effect, we can't do that yet. Wanna bet? I start writing. I see lightning in the background. You wanna fight? Well, then I won't back down. Steadily punching like Nestle's corruption. I'm like Goliath. You are just a munchkin. Standing on the tip top, making such a flip flop. Call me out if you like. I'm addicted to hip hop music. Sorta like my remedy. You take key sweat while I play Public Enemy.
Okay with it.
I'm a hip hop addict.
Yeah, that's the version for me. I'll play you a clip too of this little short version at the end.
Take me out with the thought off pistol. But I wanna hold a grudge. But you run. Cause what I'm selling is hip hop. And sucker, you're sprung. 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 Sprung.
Here's the last one now.
Backtrack, yeah, like that. Too many seconds to send me a new jack. From the head to the mouth to the stomach. Rhymes I throw up like vomit. Just easily as a recipe. I'll cook any hook trying to serve me. ABC alphabetically. Call me a dog when you upset at me. Long as I'm a pedigree. Not a pound puppy hound or a canine. Pick your piece off forever, I'ma stay mine. Looking on my vocals, never choking on my solo. Stroll so slow, so I'ma show you smell my polo. Style they come and go, yo, I'm with this. Male chauvinist, vocalist, throwing this. Back to back, like air best, air track. Cut no slack, ain't going out like that.
You don't know me, fool.
You better raise up off of it.
Damn, that was great.
Don't you up with me.
But now let's get to the B-side, because the B-side is really why we're here. Although, again, as I say, actually, the title track, Hip Hop Addict, is pretty solid, so it might be one of those come for the B-side, but stay for the A-side kind of deals. I like the A-side. I think it's kind of slept on. I think it's possibly Candyman's best song. I don't know. I mean, Knockin' the Boots is probably actually his best song. I mean, that is really some killer samples. His rhymes are kind of, for the most part, solid, but there's some corny stuff in there. But okay, let's deal with that too. Because Knockin' the Boots, that's actually on here too. Before he signed to Epic, before it came out as his big 12-inch and, video and everything on Epic Records, it was on here. And this is what got him signed to Epic Records. In fact, if you notice, where they say clean version, radio version, all that kind of stuff, for Knockin' the Boots, they just say crossover. And man, did he get that right. He definitely saw into the future there. That was the one that wound up getting him signed, and it's basically the same thing. I think it's a re-record on Epic, but it's, all the same lyrics, the same instrumental. The one key difference that you will note is the very introduction, where it's like, attention all ladies, the Candyman is on the prowl, that kind of spoken word introduction. Everyone who remembers that song remembers that that intro was by Tone Loc, who has a very distinctive voice, so I don't even know if he's credited on there, but it's definitely Tone Loc. I mean, we can check, because I do still have my old school Knockin' the Boots cassette single all the way back from 1990 when I was, pre-high school. But I'm pretty sure, right here. But no, I don't even have to look. I know he's not credited, but Tone Loc was on here. And this version is definitely not Tone Loc. I think it's Candyman himself, which is a little underwhelming to kind of, introduce yourself. Maybe it's one of his crew, but it sounds like him. But otherwise, apart from that, it's essentially the same song. Again, it might have been re-recorded, it might have been, remastered a little bit, but it's essentially 100% the same song except for that introduction switch.
Attention, all ladies. The Candyman is on the prowl. And for those who want to get busy, you got to speak up now.
Attention, all ladies. The Candyman is on the prowl. And for those that want to get busy, you got to speak up now.
Alright, so let's get to what you want to hear about. This Is How It Should Be Done. That's the name of the track. There's two versions, but it's just clean and dirty versions. And it's where he starts off bang hardcore dissing EPMD, and it's a full thing. It's not like a one-shot line. It's not a subliminal diss. It's not where he sort of says, you know, EPMD is good, but I'm greater. No, it is definitely flat out a straight, pure, solid EPMD diss. And I'm not really clear on why he's dissing EPMD, but I suspect I know, because in the second verse, as I mentioned before, he switches targets to diss Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd. And in that verse, he explains why he disses them, so I'm assuming he's dissing EPMD for more or less the same reason. Because what it is Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd had done some interviews saying they weren't fans of hip-hop, of West Coast hip-hop. Because at the time there was really the beginning of the division between East and West Coast hip-hop, where West Coast... You know, I mean, you could always say it was separate and they'd be looked down upon from the New Yorkers, like, oh, we're the originals. But in the early 90s is really where, A, West Coast hip-hop was taken off, where groups like NWA were selling even bigger than most New York artists. But also, B, where you're just starting, you didn't have G-Funk yet, that was still a few years away, but you're starting to have a separate, unique sound for West Coast hip-hop. I mean, it already had a separate, unique sound when you look at groups like the LA Dream Team and all that kind of, you know, electro dance club vibe. So it already had its own thing, you know, Work Class Wrecking Crew, etc., Egyptian Lover. But that was underground. West Coast in like 1990 was beginning to take off and be divergent from the more traditional breakbeat heavy classical MC and DJ scratch and New York sound of hip hop. So that you could definitely understand why plenty of artists, Super Lover C and Casanova Rudd no doubt included, had beef with West Coast hip-hop. I'm sure they never mentioned Candyman specifically because, again, this is 1989. This is before Knockin' the Boots. I'm sure afterwards, once he signed to Epic, that Candyman personified became a huge flagship of everything they disliked about West Coast hip-hop. So like a precursor to Rodney O and Joe Cooley's Fuck New York, Candyman basically did the same thing, but he came out really taking shots at these specific artists who dissed West Coast hip-hop. And as I say, I'm assuming that's why he dissed EPMD as well. Of course, neither EPMD or Super Lover C ever really responded. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's a quick one-line reference or something if you dig through their material, like on Super Lover C's Wild Pitch EP or something, but as far as I know, they never responded. I doubt this was on anybody's radar. Again, this is on just King's Quality Records, not on his Epic album. If Candyman had dissed him on their Epic album, I'm sure it would have been a big jump off. But here, it's just a solid underground diss record, sort of like Awesome Dre dissing LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee, you know, where he's sort of too much of an underdog to really get the response back, which is a shame because that's a whole other topic. So, okay, anyway, so you got those two verses. Then you got a quick third verse, which is a guest verse by TNT, who I briefly mentioned before. TNT, I'm sure, was the guy, actually, who, when they were on King's Quality Records, because they both had singles on King's Quality, TNT actually had two, I'm sure TNT is the guy that they all thought was really going to be the one to jump off and become the successful artist. He's definitely harder, he's sort of more traditional. He's also produced by Johnny J. Like I said, he had two singles where Candyman had one. And frankly, he's just a better MC. He's still, you know, not the greatest, but he's strong, he's more raw, more traditional, and I'm sure they really sort of thought Candyman's maybe sort of the side, more maybe experimental act, and TNT is our main guy. And TNT did, in fact, also get signed. He came out on Busted Records, which was MC Hammer's label. He had a couple more singles and one album, and that was it. And of course, Candyman went on to have a long career, which is actually amazingly still continuing to some degree. Of course, here, Nas, Where Are They Now? He was on the West Coast remix. Candyman was on that. But even apart from that, he's had some independent underground albums sort of consistently through pretty long in his career. In fact, one interesting song he did in the mid-90s, he really kind of viciously dissed Johnny J, his producer, who left him to produce for Tupac, and that's actually one of his best songs. The rest of that album sucks, but that one song was pretty good. And Candyman did some interesting stuff with DJ Quick, with Prince Paul, you know, so actually a lot of his later stuff sucks. Like, you don't really want to hear Knockin' the Boots 2001, A Sex Odyssey, which is actually a real thing. I didn't just make that up off the top of my head. But it is at least worth digging through his career. You will find some interesting joints in there. Like I said, produced by DJ Quick, produced by Prince Paul. There's a couple singles around there in the 90s. So overall, I do recommend this record. Candyman is no, great MC. He's no Melly Mel, Grandmaster Caz, Rakim, any of that. But, he's passable. He's not bad. And the production, of course, by Johnny J is what makes all his early material really at least worth checking out. Even his later, more maligned, second album and stuff. But especially this single. This is much better. Still got more of a harder, not hardcore, but a harder street kind of vibe to it. Some real kind of underground hip-hop. This is sort of hard to find, but not really. In the way, it's rare, and I don't think there are very many copies pressed. But on the other hand, Candyman is definitely not a highly sought-after MC, so there's not a lot of competition if you do want to find this record.
You got to chill. Man, that shit done played out.
This is how it should be done.
Here goes a 1, 2, 3, and...
Trip. The lyrics being kicked from California, all the way from LA. Now I'ma do it all way, down to a perfection, no second guessing. Listen up close, don't mean to boast, but I'm hard as an erection. Speaking of sex, the crowd is waiting for my climax. I'll take a lick and neck you dicking like a Timex, flipping like a flat jack, every whack new jack. Man, I ain't with that, giving you the first degree. There's no one worse than EPMD, save your rhymes for the nursery.
Smack me and I'll smack you back.
Your DJ is whack shit, this is how you should attract it.
Okay, so skipping to Super Lover C disc.
Dedication to Super Lover C and Casanova Run. This inspiration is provided by a tie, but skimming through an interview, remembering the time when you didn't like West Coast rappers too much, but the feeling is mutual, so it's only suitable to rappers, scratch, so sass. What's up? Flowing daily like gangrene, scarier than Halloween. Girls, I got 'em locked, of course you do, they're only 13. Rhyming from a Dixie cup is busted that I'm shutting up. You wanna run it?
And a brief clip of TNT.
More heads bobbing in the ears to ya. All disrespect is I hate, but I'm down with any town trying to create. What's all this static? We gotta have it, but that's beneath me. Show 'em what you got for Cali Hop TNT. Point blank, I'm coming at ya. I may be right through ya, so please pay attention when your daddy's talking to ya. New York is where it started, a warning I'm sending. Believe it or not, right here is where it's ending. Cali's on the map, or didn't you hear? You must be on crack or wet behind the ears. This is only 10% of the test. The next time,
Get a smack for this.
with mic in hand, the fans start rooting.
Yeah, so there's another verse and some more scratches and everything. So it's a pretty full, solid, dope track all in all. So that's it. Till next time, peace out.